Black Hollow was a place most people avoided after dark. Small town tucked between steep ridges and dense forests, it was surrounded by legends that refused to die. Locals spoke of strange howls in the night, claw marks on trees too high for any known animal to reach, and livestock that went missing without a trace. Outsiders dismissed it as folklore, the kind of stories rural communities clung to in order to make sense of the wilderness. But for those who lived in Black Hollow, the fear was real. Elias Turner had heard the legends all his life. A park ranger with years of experience in the forests, he prided himself on reason and fact. To him, there was always an explanation: wolves, bears, or the imaginations of frightened townsfolk. But when livestock began vanishing in clusters and residents reported guttural growls echoing through the valley, Elias was forced into the center of something that reason couldn't easily explain. The first sign that things were wrong came on a cold autumn morning. A family's herd of goats had been found mutilated, their bodies scattered across a pasture as though tossed by an unseen hand. The wounds were unlike anything Elias had seen. They weren't clean like predator bites, nor ragged like scavenger attacks. Instead, they were precise, deliberate, almost surgical. There were no tracks leading to or from the scene, only deep gouges in the earth, as if something heavy had landed and then vanished. Elias documented the scene, photographed the damage, and tried to assure the family that the state would investigate. But privately, unease gnawed him. That night, he patrolled the outskirts of town, armed with a rifle and a spotlight. Around midnight, he heard the sound that had fueled Black Hollow's legends for decades, a howl deep and resonant that shook through the trees and rattled in his chest. It was no wolf. No animal in his knowledge could produce such a sound. The following days escalated. More livestock disappeared, pets vanished from yards, and hunters reported finding clawed trees standing in perfect lines, like warnings. Children spoke of glowing eyes watching them from the tree line. Adults whispered of shapes moving in the fog, too large to be human, too deliberate to be wild. Elias, driven by equal parts duty and disbelief, set out deeper into the woods than he had ever gone before. He was not alone. A small group of townsfolk joined him: hunters, trappers, and 2 deputies armed with shotguns. Together they formed a search party, determined to put an end to whatever haunted them. The forest grew darker as they advanced, the trees thicker, the air heavier. Hours into the search, they stumbled upon a clearing littered with bones, not animal bones, but human remains, weathered and fractured as if chewed. Panic rippled through the group. Some wanted to turn back immediately, but Elias pressed forward. They couldn't leave without answers. That night they made camp. The fire did little to push back the darkness, and every sound outside the circle of light made their hands tighten around their weapons. Around 3 a.m, the forest fell silent. No crickets, no owls, nothing. Then the growl came low, vibrating through the ground. The thing stepped into the firelight, and every story Black Hollow had ever told came alive. It was massive, towering above them, with limbs too long for its frame, and a head that seemed half wolf, half human.
Ow.
Its eyes glowed amber, and its claws gleamed in the firelight. The hunters fired. Bullets tore through its flesh, but it did not fall. Instead, it moved with terrifying speed, scattering the group like leaves. One man was lifted into the air and torn apart. Another was dragged screaming into the trees. Elias stood his ground. He fired until his rifle clicked empty, then drew his knife. The creature lunged, claws ripping through his shoulder, but Elias drove the blade deep into its throat. The beast howled, staggered, and collapsed, shaking the earth as it fell. The forest exhaled as though relieved, and silence settled once more. By dawn, only 3 of them remained: Elias and the 2 deputies. They returned to town carrying wounds, exhaustion, and the memory of what they had seen. The carcass of the creature remained in the woods, but when a larger team returned later that day to recover it, the body was gone. Only scorched earth and blood marked the spot. Black Hollow began to heal. The livestock killings stopped, the howls ceased, and life crept back into its fragile rhythm. The story of the beast became both a warning and a reassurance. Parents told their children that the creature had been slain, but Elias knew better. He carried the scars of its claws and the memory of its eyes burning into his own. He never returned to the clearing, never spoke of the battle beyond what the others confirmed. But sometimes, on cold nights, when the wind pushed through the valley just right, he swore he could hear it again, a faint growl in the distance, reminding him that legends never truly die.